Cedric Leighton is a CNN military analyst and retired US Air Force colonel. He joins us now from Washington. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too, John.
Let's start with that attack on Russian soil. Now, according to Michael Colburn, a researcher with the investigative website Bellingcat, the Russian Volunteer Corps are led by a figure well known to him and those who follow the transnational far right, Denis Kapustin. Now, the Anti-Defamation League says Denis Kapustin is a Russian neo-Nazi who lived in Germany for many years, has trained young members of the far-right National Democratic Party of Germany and others. He also has ties to the Azov, as in the Azov Brigades, which is a Ukrainian extremist far-right group as well. So when Putin actually goes publicly and says the attack was carried out by neo-Nazis, there's an element of truth in that statement. And while the Ukrainian military may have nothing to do with this, this is a big problem. It's a major issue they have to deal with.
Yeah, it certainly is, John. And, when you look at this gentleman's pedigree, you notice that he's trained members of the youth wing of the NPD party in Germany, which is a successor to the Nazi party. So there are, some real issues that the Ukrainians have to be very careful with, because in this war, quite frankly, image is everything, and it becomes important for them to be as clean as possible and as show as many democratic tendencies as possible. And when it comes to fighting war, it is very important for them to follow all the rules of armed conflict to the Geneva Convention, and anything that smacks of them not doing so can be very detrimental to the Ukrainian cause.
Yeah, and there are so many foreign fighters who flock to Ukraine just for the battle or whatever. That is an issue as well. But this weird obsession that the Russians have right now of capturing Bakhmut, it looks like it may be coming to an end game here. On Tuesday, an advisor to the Ukrainian president signaled what seems to be a change in tactics. He was talking to CNN. Here he is.
Our military is obviously going to weigh off the options. So far, they're going to, they held the city, but if need be, they will strategically pull back, because we're not going to sacrifice all of our people just for nothing. So it will be a strategic step by the military.
Which is a bit of a shift, because there's always been this, we'll fight to the end, we'll hold it to the end. But at the same time, Ukraine is sending more troops into the fight there. So it seems like there's a few things happening here. It could be all part of disinformation. The extra troops could be there to defend the city. They could provide cover for a retreat, or they could be part of a counteroffensive. How do you see all of this?
Yeah, I think it's more strategic retreat at this point in time, because I don't see the Ukrainians having all the logistics in place for a counteroffensive. Of course, they could surprise us. It's, anything is possible in warfare. But at this point in time, it looks like the best course of action for the Ukrainians would be to mount a strategic retreat, pull the forces back just enough so that they aren't impacted by the encirclement moves that the Russians are actually executing right now around Bakhmut.
How does an early spring thaw fall into all of this? How does that play to it? Because what was frozen territory or frozen ground is now mud.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, the winter in Ukraine has generally been warmer than it normally is. So you're dealing with a lot of mud, more now than you would normally deal with at point in time in the year. So there is that factor. There is also the factor of the troop fatigue that is a key issue for the Ukrainians and also for the Russians to some extent. But the Russians have much greater manpower resources, John, and that's what you're seeing here. They're bringing them to bear, coupled with the Wagner group. That is creating a real problem for the Ukrainian defenders of Bakhmut at the moment.
Yeah, just very quickly, the Russians have had staggering losses trying to take this city. At the end of the day, could they win the battle but lose the war because of this?
Most certainly. And in fact, this could very well prove to be a Pyrrhic victory for the Russians. They have staked so much on Bakhmut that I think they're really putting too much into this from a military standpoint, and it could very well result in great losses for them, and it could also put them at a significant disadvantage going forward.
Colonel, as always, thank you so much. Good to have you with us.
You bet, John. Anytime.